So we have just been watching some movies on the internet and we have seen some very good speakers.
Right.
Yes.
What did you think about them?
I think they were very different but still very good. They have all their own way to make a point and to tell their story. I think their storylines are very important and it's interesting to see how you can on stage give a message and give it through to the audience.
I like the fact that they're all so different. Greta Thunberg, a small little girl on a big stage, and then there's Yuval Noah Harari, who knows what he's talking about really well, really confident. And then there's Shonda Rhimes, the writer of Grey's Anatomy, who's an amazing woman.
Yes, she is.
And talking about something very personal, very emotional for her. And so different, but at the end there's something that ties them all, that there's this common thing for all of them.
Yes.
And I found that to be that the viewer really feels something.
Yes.
Yeah.
The feeling is very interesting, how they can make it personal. But then when we talk about EHiN, because that's what we actually think about, EHiN, which is in November, and then we're talking about digital healthcare, and it might not be that strong personal, even though there are a lot of people working with a lot of personal connection to it. So, but you think that bringing knowledge in a way, like in digital health, is that possible to do that in 15-20 minutes as you have seen in the videos?
I don't think they should even try to say everything they know in the 15 minutes. That can't be done. So what they should try instead is find either one really strong idea that they want to give to their audience, or make a talk, structure a talk in a way that follows 3 main points.
3 points.
3 points.
So why is that? Why is that one feeling or 3 points?
Actually, this 3-point idea is something that comes very often in literature. There are a lot of works structured in this way. There's a hero that has to go through 3 challenges, or there's a mama bear, papa bear, baby bear. Studies showed that our brain is actually wired to remember things that come in groups of 3 more easily.
Interesting.
Of course, there's also a very gratifying feeling when there's like one clear idea.
Okay.
But this other kind of structure, having 3 main points, is also very easy for people to remember. So this is why I recommend this to the speakers I work with.
So Ioana, please tell me, what is a speaker coach actually doing?
Speaker coaching is meant to help people with getting to the core of their message. Both when you're more experienced or less experienced, that's still your main preoccupation as a speaker. So your speaker coach helps you to peel off some of the layers that are not super essential for the talk, but can be tempting for speakers because they want to have as much explanation as possible.
Hide behind all the facts and the other slides and so on.
Precisely. But it can be very easy to lose the audience in those first seconds if you don't get straight to the point, or if you don't have an idea at the beginning that really captures them. So that's what a speaker coach helps you with, getting that core message to shine in your talk.
And you think still experienced speakers can learn from that?
I think so, because every time you need to do your best. So if you think, oh, I've done this before, that's not really doing your best.
No.
And every audience is a little bit different. So you need to get into that and put yourself in their shoes and think, okay, what keeps these people up at night? What do they really need from me? And that will be the path towards my core message. And after that, when you've thought about what you want to say, the next thing to do with your speaker coach is work on how you're going to say it. So think about words and expressions that really make your message memorable and put those together. And that's one other thing that a speaker coach can help you with. And of course, the final part, which is my personal favorite, rehearsing. And working on little details like when to pause, when to give people time to laugh, when to put your voice up, when to really make a point. And all of that can be done with a speaker coach. Sometimes that can be done by filming the speaker and then playing the video together and analyzing what went well, what can be improved, but sometimes just by rehearsing a few times together.
And then if you're rehearsing, you can do that in your head, or you really have to speak out loud your whole presentation?
It works better when you say it out loud.
It is, okay.
It does. Of course, any preparation is better than no preparation. But when you speak it out loud, you can hear the words coming out of your mouth. So that will always sound different than the notes you've written. Very often it happens that people write a draft, and then when they go on stage it sounds like written text and not like spoken language. So that can also be noticed if you try to say it once or twice before the event.
Okay.
Yeah. Even when it's just bullet points, you still need to hear yourself say it to make sure it sounds natural and that it flows. Because sometimes you might have this complicated word or construction that doesn't really go very well, and that will give you trouble on stage, and you'll think, oh no, I have to do that again, and all kinds of problems that come from that. So with the preparation process, you smooth all these things out.
If you give one thing you really want to give the speakers for EHiN or anywhere, what is the one really point you want to give them to think about when they're standing on the stage?
The one thing I always recommend is that people are generous with their audience.
Okay.
So make it about the audience and not about themselves.
Okay.
That's what I mean by generous. And that works every time. If you see your talk as a gift that you give to the audience and do your best to really make it a gift, that never fails.
Can you give an example of what you mean with being generous with the audience?
That's a great question. Being generous means remembering that it's about the audience and not about yourself as a speaker. It can be very tempting to go on stage and talk about your best practices in your hospital, for example, or something like that, and give it to the audience as an example of your achievements, when it really has to be about them and about what they can do better, what can help them. An excellent example of this is Barack Obama. He has a very nice way of talking about, you know, big values and general things in society, but not making them about his own political program, but making it very concrete about real people in everyday lives. What that does is it makes people feel related to the speaker, so you start on the same level as everybody else in the audience. You don't start from a high position of superiority. You start together, and then you take the audience on the journey with you. And the journey is not about you.
No.
And this is where generosity comes in. A lot of speakers want to share their results, their best practices and things like that. But at the very end of the talk, it has to be about the audience, about what they can do better. Not about my great achievements as a speaker, but about what the audience can do.
Yeah, indeed. And that's very much also what the EHiN is about, because we connect people on a networking place where they can exchange ideas, and they have to take it with them to the next step and go home and use it in their daily work.
Precisely.
You've been a coach for many years, I think more than 10 years, 11 or something. And in Denmark you've been training people for the TED Talks, which has been seen as the highest kind of presentations in this kind. Is that right?
That's right. For 2 years now in Denmark and 11 years before that. Yeah.
Oh wow. So what's your experience with that?
I find that everybody has their own style. You have to find your own voice. That's really important. You don't want to sound like a TED speaker if you don't feel that.
No.
But it's true that preparation is an essential part. So whether you have one model, Barack Obama, or another,
Steve Jobs,
or
but still that's very high.
Exactly, or Greta Thunberg, think of someone who started out from nothing. Whoever your model is, you have to prepare for it. So that's something that cannot be skipped.
So I think a lot of speakers who come to EHiN, some of them might have a very high level of presentations, but a lot of people might be scared of when we put the list too high. So you have to be very clear that it's not a TED Talk we're talking about, but still, it would be very good because a lot of people come to the EHiN to talk, to learn more, and if everybody does a few steps more on their presentation, they make it a little bit better.
Absolutely.
So where can you start as an amateur really to be better?
Well, there's two things I'd like to say here actually, and one is related to those speakers who are more experienced. And it's something that I was actually talking about with one of my TEDx speakers, and she made a very good point that it's no longer possible to do the same talk event after event these days.
No.
People move from one place to another, and they see you
put
again and again.
Yeah.
So you can't really pull out the same PowerPoint you've been using all over again. So to the more experienced speakers, I would recommend to really look inside themselves and in their work and what they're doing, and think, how can I really help my audience this time? And really know their audience, because every combination of people is different, and EHiN is a special context, so they should know exactly who the people are, where they come from, what they want to find at this conference. So start from there. And to the ones that are a bit less experienced with speaking, but maybe they've done a lot of work beforehand, because otherwise they wouldn't be on stage. They wouldn't be invited to speak. I would recommend to just take a minute and think, what is my one core message? Because they are the ones who will want to share everything.
Yeah, sure.
And that's a challenge when you have a time limit.
Yeah, because my experience is when I look at a lot of different speakers, that those who are really good, they really start with their core point very early in there.
Precisely.
And don't leave it in the end, because then you rush to get your most important point in the end. And you also mentioned something which is an interesting debate part, and that is the PowerPoint. So PowerPoint is very central in presentations. Some people do not use it, some people use only pictures, some people use only words, some people use a lot of text and just read basically the text. So what can you advise speakers who are not too experienced to do with the PowerPoint presentation?
I always say the presentation is you. So that means you can very well do without PowerPoint. Then it's one less thing to worry about. You don't have to get frustrated when, the clicker doesn't work, and oops, this font moved by accident when I transferred to the USB stick, and all these things. So that's one less worry. If they really want to have it, then they should use the slides as cues, as helping points, and then of course have as much visual aid as possible. So less text, maybe just 1 or 2 words per slide, and just images that help them remember what they're going to talk about next. One of the things I notice very often is that people start talking towards the slides instead of towards the audience. So it's like you're talking to your PowerPoint instead of to your audience, and you want to prevent that. So I would recommend to keep that to a minimum.
Yes, and not reading what is on the slides, but try to do something else. Okay.